Hey Yarn Bestie, it's me Jaya. Welcome back to Skein and Tell. Today we got an incredibly intriguing episode that merges two worlds you might not think go hand in hand: artificial intelligence and fiber arts. That's right, today we are asking the big question: can a robot learn how to crochet or knit? Now, with AI technology advancing at an insane pace, we're seeing all kinds of mind-blowing innovation. But what happens when we take this cutting-edge technology and we ask it to do something as, tactile and personal and nuanced as knitting and crocheting is? Can a robot truly replicate the artistry, the creativity, the human touch of crafting with yarn? Can it write a pattern and then knit it? Or are there things that, only humans can do with needles and hooks? So grab your yarn and your tech curiosity, hopefully, because we're diving deep into the world of AI and knitting and crocheting, and the potential future where robots might just be stitching alongside us. Now, before we get into specifics, let's take a quick look at what AI is and how it's been evolving. So AI, or artificial intelligence, refers to machines that can simulate human intelligence, learn from data, improve over time, and even perform tasks that require some level of creativity and adaptations. We're already seeing AI in things like self-driving cars, smart assistants like Siri or Alexa, and even AI in art creation, right? But can AI take on something as hands-on as crochet or knitting? Let's find out. To understand whether AI can learn to knit, it's essential to first recognize that AI can already create art, right? It can create paintings and poetry and music, all by learning from the vast amounts of data and previous examples that we are feeding it. So some systems are trained to recognize patterns and replicate the creativity of human artists. This opens the door to the idea that AI might be able to replicate or even innovate in areas like fiber arts. But knitting, crocheting, let's see about that, right? Let's see about that. So now that we know that AI is capable of, let's take a look at the possibility of a robot crocheting or knitting, or Tunisian crocheting for that matter. The main question here is whether a robot can replicate the same precision, the same creativity, and human connection that goes into every stitch. Can it do it? Can it do it better? Can it do it worse? Can it even do it? Now, there have been various attempts to create machines that can perform knitting, from automated knitting machines, which we know use in industrial settings, to more experimental robots designed to mimic hand knittings. Crocheting so far has not been able to replicate in a machine, but knitting has. So let's try to just kind of focus around knitting for now. Some of the first examples that I found online of robotic knitting started in about 2010s, where researchers were testing the ideas of machines that could not just create fabric, but actually emulate the delicate craft of hand knitting. Now, in these prototypes, robotic arms equipped with advanced sensors and tons of algorithms and programs and programming and stuff like that were programmed to move yarn, wrap it around the needles, complete stitches. However, these machines lacked the fine motor skills and, the creative flair that humans bring to knitting. So while the machines could produce the fabric, They weren't really like knitting. They were in the artistic human sense. So in 2017, a team at the University of Tokyo developed a robot designed to knit using yarn, but the results were, quite basic. So the robot could perform basic stitches, but it required super meticulous human programming and often lacked the subtlety, the artistry that comes with a person's touch. It's not quite ready to knit a sweater just yet. But yeah, actually the idea of robots being able to understand yarn tension or stitch consistency or even reading a pattern is definitely being explored at this particular time. And that is just mind-blowing. So what makes knitting such a human craft? What makes crocheting such a human craft that AI might struggle to replicate, right? I feel like the beauty of both these crafts is not just in the mechanical process of just looping the yarn, right? It's in the personal expression. It's in the creativity that goes into it. So from choosing colors to adjusting tension, and every person's technique is super unique, right? So knitting or crocheting has been passed down for generations as a form of connection, whether that's, knitting for a friend, passing down family heirlooms, or stitching a piece of love and warmth to cuddle up on a very, very cold winter afternoon. So one of the things that make hand knitting and crocheting so special is the idea that imperfection can add so much character. We all know that, we make mistakes, and yes, there are the perfectionists out there that are frogging and starting again, but we know that these mistakes happen. Dropped stitches, uneven tension, whether that's because the temperature in the room changes or because suddenly it's more humid than before, or you are feeling tense in your body as well. That can also affect it. So all of these things, the drop stitches, the uneven tension, or the accidental design element that suddenly happened and boom, it worked out super beautiful, can often turn into happy accidents that shape a final product into something so beautiful and so unique. So for AI to replicate this level of creativity, it would have to actually learn to embrace imperfections in a way that goes a little bit beyond the pre-programmed set of instructions. So for instance, here's a really, really funny example. In the famous knitting mistakes that make sweaters or scarves unique, humans often see the beauty in the imperfection. I'm talking here about how our friends see something that we've made that we think it's imperfect, that it has mistakes, and we're so sad and upset because you see I dropped this stitch here and then I try to fix it, but now the tension is off, and we're so sad about it, right? But our friends and our human companions, they actually see the beauty in it. And AI might be able to stitch a perfect row every single time, but does it learn to embrace the quirks that make, a finished piece so special? There is also something deeply emotional about knitting and crocheting that's very difficult to program in a machine. I mean, people don't just knit to produce fabric, right? They knit to get comfort, to de-stress, to create something meaningful for a loved one. And the connection to the process and the meditation rhythm of the stitches is something very, very personal, deeply personal, and very human. So AI, however, doesn't have the emotional experience to form its craft in the same way. We interrupt this episode for a special segment that explores the history of yarn. The archaeology of... I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. It's the Archeology of Yarn, and it's brought to you by our special correspondent, Yardiana Jones. Today, we're diving into the softest, most luxurious fibers on the planet, and it's alpaca. That's right, bestie. If you've ever worn a scarf so soft that it made you question every other fabric choice in your life, there's a good chance it was alpaca. But did you know that this ultra fancy fiber has been around for thousands of years and was once reserved for royalty? Not for you and me, for royalty. That's right. Alpaca fiber was so exclusive that you weren't even allowed to sniff it, you know? If you weren't an Incan emperor, you could probably forget about it. Just forget about it. But don't worry, today we are unraveling the story of alpaca one fuzzy fact at a time. So, okay, picture this. It's about 6,000 years ago in the Andes Mountains. Air is crisp. Mountains stunning. Local people are looking at wild, shaggy-looking animals, vicuñas, guanacos, and thinking, what if we breed these guys into the ultimate fiber-making machine? And that's that, my friends. That's how alpaca was domesticated. Now, these ancient Andes societies were basically prehistoric fiber scientists, selectively breeding alpacas to produce the softest and the warmest fleece around. Now, let me tell you, they nailed it, because fast forward a few thousands of years, the Inca Empire, aka the ancient rulers of what is now Peru, Ecuador, and Bolivia, took alpaca production to the next level. They treated alpacas like living treasures because their fibers were so warm, they were so lightweight, and let's be honest, so luxurious. Only the Incan elite were allowed to wear the alpaca garments. Common folk? Nope. It was basically the designer brand situation, of this day. Meanwhile, the poor sheep over in Europe had no idea they were being completely outclassed in the fluff department. And then the Spanish arrived in the 1500s. Dun, dun, dun. Now, the Spanish were big on wool, especially from their fancy merino sheep. So when they saw the alpacas, they thought, wow, this fiber's superior. Maybe we should adopt it. Nope, they thought, let's stick with our sheep. And worse, because the Spanish focused so much on sheep, the alpaca population took a massive hit. Thankfully, the indigenous people of the Andes were like, yeah, we're not giving up on our fluffy superstars. And they secretly kept breeding and raising alpacas in the highlands. And thank goodness they did, because otherwise we wouldn't have alpaca sweaters today. We wouldn't have alpaca silk. Can you imagine that? I'm just sweating thinking about it. Okay. Fast forward to the 1800s. A British guy called Sir Titus Salt. Yes, that was his actual name. Titus Salt. Titus Salt. Sir Titus Salt. Oh, well. He got his hands on some alpaca fiber and thought, wait a minute. This stuff is amazing. So Sir Salt, which sounds almost like a character from a child's book, he decided to bring the alpaca fiber into fashion history, right? So the Victorians went wild for it because, let's face it, they were all about luxurious fabrics and so forth. And suddenly alpaca was making a comeback, appearing in absolutely every fancy coats, to even elegant dresses. But the best part was that the alpacas were still thriving in the Andes, minding a little business, completely unaware that their fur was becoming an international sensation. Now, today, alpaca fiber is still considered one of the best natural fibers in the world. It's softer than cashmere, in my opinion, warmer than wool, in my opinion, hyperallergenic, which means no itchy sweaters. And it's one of the most sustainable fibers out there because unlike sheep, alpacas don't destroy the land they graze on. Their little padded feet are super gentle on the earth, and they don't overgraze. Basically, they're the eco-friendly influencers of the animal kingdom. So yeah, sustainability, they've been doing it for 6,000 years, honey. And one fun fact to kind of wrap up. There are actually two types of alpaca. Wakaya, they have this fluffy teddy bear-like fleece, and then there's the suri, which have a silky flowing locks. Imagine like a shampoo commercial, super, super flowy, drapey locks. But either way, they both produce ridiculously soft fibers that really makes us want to wrap ourselves in it forever. Yeah. So let's recap. Alpacas have been giving us high-quality fibers for over 6,000 years. They survived the Spanish conquest. They made a surprise comeback thanks to a guy named Sir Titus Salt. And they're now leading the charge in sustainable fashion. Not bad, I think, for a bunch of cute little adorable long-necked fluff balls. And if anyone asks you, why are you buying another alpaca silk 10-pack? And I'm looking at you, Sebastian. Just tell them, I deserve to feel what the ancient Incan royalty once felt. So if AI can't fully replicate the human side of crochet and knit, does that mean that it's destined to stay out of the world of yarn altogether? Not really necessarily, because most likely the future for AI and knitting might be collaboration, where robots and humans work together to create even more intricate, innovative designs. And some of the most advanced examples of AI and this are the machine-assisted designs. So the machine-assisted designs are machines obviously built by humans to collaborate with AI to generate unique patterns, optimize techniques. And this collaboration could lead to, custom-made sweater based on user preference or the development of AI-powered knitting apps. Or crochet apps that guide users through intricate patterns and help them fix mistakes, which we all know is something that we're really, really struggling with. I personally use AI extremely often to get it to explain to me stitches or to explain to me how I can upsize or downsize a pattern that I simply cannot seem to figure out the math myself. More like personalize a pattern. If, for instance, I want to do a different kind of cuff for my sleeves or whatever it is that I'm doing. And it can also assist you in so many ways with yarn color selection or generate, really, really beautiful ideas for unique textures based on whatever style you might have. So using machine learning algorithms, AI could definitely analyze existing knitting patterns, learn from them, help users design something more personalized, which I feel like it's also one of the things that we miss a lot in the design world because everybody's so different. And I'm talking about bodies, not everybody, but also everybody. But also the bodies are so different that sometimes a sweater that you might absolutely love or, a pair of, socks, I guess, if you have like a chunky ankles like I do, might not fit the same right way. So it's really, really nice that the AI can actually analyze the existing patterns, get some new measurements done, get some information about the yarn you're using, and then figure out the math for you. It doesn't always work, but it's getting there fairly quickly. So yeah. In the fashion world, some high-end designers are actually right now experimenting with robotic knitting machines to create more precise and unique fabrics. And I think that something that I've seen for the last 3 years is the concept of 3D knitting machines that actually help create garments that are seamless and fully customized to the wearer's measurements. And that is just out of this world. Have you ever had a blouse on or a t-shirt on that is seamless? It's like wearing air. It is incredible. If you have the option to try it out, buy one. It's incredible. It's so nice. So yeah, I know that in 2019, Stella McCartney actually collaborated with a tech company to create a 3D printed robot knitting machine that would do garments, and they weren't like hand knitted, but they used the technology to replicate some of the aesthetic qualities of knit fabric, giving designers the freedom to create super complex patterns and shape them without the traditional fabric construction methods that are known to this day. So, I mean, can AI master the creative process? One of the key questions actually we have to eventually ask ourselves is, can they truly do this in the same way that we humans can? Now, knitting is not just about the maker that is just deciding, oh, I'm just going to make a scarf. It's about creating something that expresses your style, that expresses your story, that expresses your emotions. And it goes the same way for crocheting. It really has to, you have to show you will show your personality through what you create, right? Whether that is by the color choices you choose or the type of projects you make. Maybe you want them to represent where you come from. It's this human touch that I think robots might be able to assist us with, but they will have slower time at learning to replicate the emotion, I guess, right? So, like I said, they can learn the techniques, but they can also generate designs, but it's unlikely to fully replicate the human artistry and emotion that us humans bring to the craft. So can a robot learn how to knit, how to crochet? Technically, yes. It can knit maybe a perfect sweater. It can crochet a perfect shawl. It can even assist in creating, innovative designs. However, when it comes to creativity, personal expression, and the emotional connection that we have with our crafts, it looks like that's still something only humans can truly do. We're the only ones truly capable of it. So for now, AI is destined to be a tool, one that works alongside us, helps us expand our horizons, but never fully replace the deep, personal, comforting, and creative experience that our craft offers. Are you ready? I got some tea for you today. Let's get into the gossip corner. Now, the crochet community is currently grappling with a surge of AI-generated patterns that are causing significant frustration among crafters. Now, these patterns often feature images that appear enticing and sweet and nice and wow, but they're entirely AI created, leading to instructions that are super incomplete, nonsensical, and absolutely impossible to execute. Now, this trend has been particularly prevailed on platforms like Etsy and Amazon, where unsuspecting buyers purchase these patterns only to find that the final product doesn't look like the advertised image. And I know that this has happened also in-house here at Hobbii. We had some patterns stolen, new images generated from our own images, generated through AI and then sold. It was a catastrophe. But anyway, one notable instance actually also involves a Malayan crocheter based in South Africa who discovered numerous patterns on these platforms showcasing AI-generated images paired with faulty instructions. Now, the deceptive practice not only wastes crafters' time, and we hate that, but also the materials, and it also undermines the trust within the crochet community. So to combat the issues, experts are actually recommending several strategies. So look closely for inconsistencies or elements that seem a little unrealistic, such as sudden floating objects or maybe unnatural textures, or look at also the fingers. If there's a model, look at the fingers. That's going to give it away, at least for now. Verify the designer authenticity. So research that the pattern creator is a real person, to ensure that they have, a legitimate online presence and that they have a history within the crafting world. So check their Instagram if necessary, or TikTok. Read the reviews. So check for feedback from other crafters who have attempted the pattern to see if, they've encountered any issues. And of course, be cautious of absolutely unrealistic prices, because if a pattern is priced significantly lower than comparable offerings, maybe that's a red flag. But by remaining, vigilant and supporting authentic creators, I think that the crochet community can navigate these challenges and continue to thrive. So yeah, that was all for Gossip Corner. I cannot wait to see you next time. Okay, love you, bestie. Bye. Thanks for joining me on this, I would say, thought-provoking episode of Skein and Tell, my little sweet yarn bestie. It's always fun to imagine the possibilities that the future holds, but no matter how advanced technology gets, there's something magical about the art and heart that comes with every stitch we make. So keep knitting, keep crocheting, and remember, the human spirit is what makes our crafts truly special. Okay, love you, bestie. See you next time.